You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paranormal Pride. We will visit only with the best investigators, location owners, demonologists, researchers, inventors, authors, mediums, psychics, and enthusiasts. Anyone with a love or interest in the paranormal, the supernatural, or the unexplained will be meeting here on Mondays at 8 p.m., 7 Central. Welcome everyone to the Paranormal Pride. I want everyone to know my name is Denise Pridemore, but tonight we're going to do things a little bit different than we normally do. I am actually on vacation this week, and I am visiting my cousin Dan in Bristol, Tennessee. Well, we're coming to you live from a haunted house. Not haunted bad, it's just my family here, but it's going to be a little bit noisier here than usual. Of course, Ruby's not here to cry in the background, and there's not 5 cats snoring and stuff, but there is a dog and there is a cat, and my sister's going to show up in the middle with her nieces, and probably, I'm not going to say anything negative, but it may get louder than normal. There may be sounds that you guys will hear, so please be aware that we're in an actual house that people live in and do things, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm ignoring you or anything like that, or that I'm trying to be disrespectful because I'm doing this somewhere else. I'm trying to be very respectful of you guys by having the show and having on this wonderful guest that was recently on Ghost Adventures. Her name's June Lundgren, and she apparently is a demon seer, which I want to find out more about that. She talks to animals, spirit animals, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to let her tell you about her a little bit more because, who knows you better than you? So if you guys have any questions while you're listening to all this, please put them in the chat room and I'll get to them. And just so you know, everybody here is watching me talk with my hands. So you can just imagine that as well. And so welcome, June. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I hope that you got lots of good stories to share with us.
Always. I've been doing this for over 40 years, so there's always something new, something happening.
So how did you find out that you were that you saw demons?
I've always seen them all my life. My grandmother raised me for the first 5 years, and she taught me how to tell the good from the bad. And she told me, right at that time, I needed to learn to ignore them because there was nothing I could do about it until I was older. So I knew they were there. I knew what they were. And I just kind of didn't acknowledge them because, to acknowledge them is to make them see you. So I just would, see that they were there and just move on and pretend I didn't see them. So I've been doing it all my life, and I always wondered at the time, it's like, how come I can see them and hear them and understand them? Because they speak Aramaic, and then it's like my brain is kind of hardwired to interpret and to understand. But I found out in 1988 when I was in a motorcycle accident, I died. And when I crossed to the other side, my grandparents were waiting for me, and Michael the Archangel was there, and he said, you need to understand who and what you are. That's the reason for this experience in this lifetime. He says it's time that you understood. So he made me relive all my physical world lives back to the soul core. And he says, this is who you really are. He says those physical lives were just, parts that you played, basically. He said, your soul belongs to Ariel the Archangel. She's one of the angels that guards the throne of God. She was an avenging angel and a demon slayer. And I had never even heard of her until my near-death experience. And then I was dead, clinically dead for 2 minutes, and then I came back. And it took me quite a while to come to terms with it. And there's not much known about Ariel other than her name means Lion of God, and that she guards the throne. But once I understood that, Michael was able to merge my physical consciousness with the soul consciousness, and I can see everything that she's done, everything she's experienced. And he said, you're going to continue your job in this lifetime as you have in all your others. You're going to do God's work by removing demons. And I'm like, okay. It's like I didn't have a clue. And one day my sister-in-law called me and said, listen, there's something wrong with your brother. His eyes are turning black and his voice isn't his own, and you need to come down here. So I went down to Salem, which is about 30 miles away, and I waited for him. I did not approach him because Michael said, don't approach him. Wait until he comes home. Go out, park outside, and then we'll summon the demon. We'll call it towards you. I'm thinking to myself, are you out of your mind? Why would I do that? So I got there, and he had got home. And so Michael says, get out of the car. He says, call the demon to you. So I did it telepathically, and here this black mask comes through the wall towards me. It's getting closer and closer, and I'm like, oh, crap. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't there anymore on the forward. My consciousness was pushed to the back, and Ariel came forward. And she actually, confronted the demon and says, what are you doing here? This is my territory. You don't need to be here. And she grabbed it by the throat and sent it down into the darkness. And then once that happened, she retreated to the back. And I said, what happened? And Michael said, well, you had to figure out that you could do it. We needed to give you a situation where you couldn't avoid it. I said, you used me as bait, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. He said, you needed to understand that this is something you can do. And, you need to do it. And you can't have any fear. You can't have any doubt. So that was, almost 30 years ago. So ever since that first one, it's like when I go, I know where they are. I know what they are. And I can go in and remove them. And usually I'm not allowed to kill them. Ariel's not allowed to kill them, but instead send them back where they belong. And I do have Michael comes with me, and sometimes Gabriel. They enjoy it so much.
I find it fascinating that you can do this. And just so people know, when she talked about Salem, she meant Salem, Oregon, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
Salem, Oregon. Yeah, other side of the country, people. How long have you been? I mean, we're going to jump to Ghost Adventures, okay?
Okay.
Because I know we just watched all that, so there's so many things that are in our minds about that. So anybody who watched last week's Ghost Adventure, the Norblad Hotel, how did you get involved with the Norblad Hotel?
Back in February of this year, we have a local group, and it's a get-together for people that do paranormal investigations. It's called the Paranormal Pub. And they were doing like a road trip down to Astoria. Said, everybody, who wants to come? So they ended up being about 10 of us going, and we spent the weekend, and we explored like the Commodore Hotel and the Norblad, and he just had an interesting time. And I've co-founded Ghosts and Girls Paranormal, but I was also with my other group, Northwest Paranormal. And so we did I was a little bit late getting to the Norblad, but my friend Aaron was there first. And he was coming out as I was going in. He says, I was just attacked. He said, I have to get it off me. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll take it off. So I removed it from him and then went down into the basement and finished removing the other one that was down there. But, you know, people heard growling and all kinds of things. And I'm like, okay, this is, you know, it's clean now. I said, but it's one of those places where there's a lot of paranormal activity. And so this won't be the last time there'll be something here. They'll always have problems with it. So we had a nice weekend. We did that and then moved on. And then Ghost Adventures was looking for, they sent out an email. I was one of the people they sent an email to and said, hey, you know, we're looking for places that are haunted in your local area. And then I told them about Astoria and what we had picked up there and stuff. And so when it came time for them to do filming, they called me and said, well, you know, can you come down here? And at that time I was working. I couldn't get off work. And my friend and para partner, Wendy, she did the North Head Lighthouse, and which is cool, you know, because she's an empath and she can pick up all this, you know, the souls and stuff like that. So she did that one with them. That will be airing this coming Saturday. Mm-hmm. And then they said, well, you know, what about the Norblad? And I said, yeah, I said I had experiences in there. You know, I said I removed a demon. And so when we went down to film, I was given the information that there would be an old demon there, and it was coming because it wanted to give Zach information. It wanted to talk to him, and I'm like, okay. I always know they're coming before they come,
right?
You know, and these things, you know, the negatives know you're coming before you know you're coming anyway. So it knew Zach was coming. So I'm like, okay. And I told him when we met outside and he interviewed me. And I said, you know, what's down there is not nice. I said, there's an old demon here. I said, and it came specifically for you. I said, so, you know, that's what you're going to find down there. And he was very concerned about his crew. And I understand that. And I said, no, I said, they'll be fine as long as I'm there. They'll be fine. And then that's when we went down, and some of the stuff that they took out was we were talking at first, and I said, you know, that a friend of mine, I had a couple of friends that wanted to see what I see. And I told him, I said, you don't want to see what I see, because what I see is I see the demons in their true form. And I said, I hear them. I said, you don't want to see it. I warned him. I said, I'm warning you, you don't want to see it. And that's when he said, I want to see what you see. So, right. And then you see in the video that he's, you know, he jerks his hand away after about, you know, 30 seconds or so. And what I was doing was I was showing him what I see, so he could see from my perspective what there was there. So he saw through my eyes. And what they didn't show was, he said, well, you know, when I first touched your hand, he said, I felt calmness and a sense of peace, and I saw white light. I said, well, that's the archangel that resides in front of in me. He said, and then it's like a curtain came down, and he said, I saw this thing over in the corner. And he's like, and when I did, you know, it sent an electrical shock through him. So he moved away. You know, that's when he jerked away. And I told him, I said, how's your back? That's not in there either. And he says, oh, my back hurts. I said, that's your weak spot. I said, it will attack your weak spot. I said, you're not going to be harmed, but it's going to put pressure there. And you know, I warned him about that before it even happened, and he didn't believe me, and he did act like he didn't believe that I could do what I do until after he saw what I see. Then it was like a whole nother situation.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he's like freaked out. He runs out of the hotel. I'm climbing up the stairs, and he's like running out of the hotel to a waiting vehicle. And my friend Wendy is like up there with me, and she's like, oh my God. She says, it was hilarious. She says, he's running out of the place. And I'm like,